At Vimalakirti's, did you come for the way or did you come for a seat? Vimalakirti. Meanwhile, Vimalakirti, again by rumor or
Uh,
omniscience depending, knows they're coming. So he empties his whole estate, ordering every stick of furniture and every piece of art removed. And he asked everybody in the household to leave for the day. When Manjushri and his retinue reach Vimalakirti's house, the only thing they see is the Bodhisattva lying on his sick bed in a 10 by 10-foot room. In the Buddha's voluptuous garden with its vast assembly and Vimalakirti's solitary, empty room are polar opposites. There does seem to be a psychic link between the Buddha and Vimalakirti, and each is keenly aware of the other. There's a parallel with the koan known as the true Quane, uh, based on folk tale about a woman who is simultaneously living an eventful life and home in bed, delirious with illness. Uh, the footnote there is the full koan can be found in Aqueous and Gates, miscellaneous koans, and miscellaneous writings on koans. In the end of the two quanes reconcile and become one. The koan question is, which is the two quane? In the sutra, what happens to the 32,000, which is to say all of us, when we reconcile for ourselves the park and the sick room, the Buddha and Vimalakirti, as well as their doubles, Manjushri and the goddess.
Manjushri, oops, Manjushri and his retinue pro- processing, processing from the Buddha to Vimalakirti form a sort of living bridge between them. Set in motion by the Buddha, welcomed by Vimalakirti, it might be important that the members of the retinue are at first reluctant to bridge that particular gap, content to remain in the garden, Sunday in the park with Buddha, with their fixed ideas of purity, defilement, and right practice, safe from the subversions of uncomfortable questions. Vimalakirti wastes no time confronting them with the stark fact of himself, all distractions removed. A sick bodhisattva? Isn't the whole point of dedicating yourself to becoming a bodhisattva so that you don't have to be sick anymore? Perhaps the assembly was hoping that the sword of Manjushri's bright knowing would cut through the complexities of Vimalakirti's relentless presentation of life as it is. In the end, they find that healing is something quite different, and the path to it leads through Vimalakirti's gate.
Oops. There's a setting I can change. Just a second. I don't know. And now it's time for Shariputra to ask another question. He looks around and says, "But sir, the room is completely empty. There are no chairs for anyone to sit on. The fact that 32,000 beings have managed to fit comfortably into Vimalakirti's 10 by 10 room doesn't seem to have made much of an impression. But the issue of where everyone might sit has Shariputra worried. There's nothing in the original Pali Canon that challenges your imagination like the Mahayana. There's many instances in the Mahayana literature like this, where things are not quite as we know them to be. Vimalakirti responds, let me ask you, did you come for the way, or are you looking for a place to sit? That's a great question to ask a guest, isn't it?
Mhm.
That's something we ask ourselves, or we could have it on the door at Apamata. That's something we can ask ourselves. What did we come for, and what are those seats? Do we come for happiness, wisdom, peace, escape, meaning, greater compassion, relief of suffering? Or do we come willing to follow the way wherever it leads us, even into the dodgy sick room with its sudden portals to other worlds? Someone was asking, who's going to lead? I don't know if this is connected. Who's going to leave inquiry tomorrow? And it's kind of like that. Why are you coming? What, are you open to whatever might happen?
Kim, could we see the note, the footnote? No, number 11.
The way is a translation of Dharma, which means both the Buddhist teaching, and the way the universe is, much like the Tao in Chinese.
Hmm. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Vimalakirti says that you have to give up everything in order to seek the way, including the bedrock orthodoxies of Buddhism. He runs through a whole list of those, beginning at the beginning with the Four Noble Truths. If you're looking at unsatisfactoriness, it causes in the end, and
No,
the
no,
path
no, no. You
to
got to get it right.
sorry.
Four things. Okay. Unsatisfactoriness, its causes, comma, its end, which is the end of suffering, and the path
Okay.
to the end of suffering, the path to the end. Okay? So you read.
Oh, okay.
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 This is the
So
Four Noble Truths.
beginning with the Four Noble Truths. If you're looking at unsatisfactoriness, it causes its end and the path to that end. What you are actually seeking is not the way, but unsatisfactoriness. It causes at the end, the path to that end. The same is true for nirvana, the three treasures of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Oh, the three treasures of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and all other formulations and theories. However, central to Buddhist doctrine, the way is none of the techniques and practices taught over the last 2,500 years and by other people for thousands of years before that. The way isn't meditation or inquiry or even koans. It's neither what you think, it's neither what you think you're looking for, nor the techniques you think that will help you find it. In all these instances, you're putting something else in place of the wild and undomesticated Tao. Vimalakirti says that you have to be willing to give up your body and your life, let alone a seat, for the way. Wow.
If the way is
So
something,
here's let's read the footnote first, and then we can do the paragraph. So 12. Okay, Milan?
yeah, Melissa?
The Four Noble Truths, considered the foundations of classical Buddhism, are usually translated as 1. Life is suffering. 2. There is a cause of suffering. 3. There is a cessation of suffering. 4. There is a way to the cease to the cessation of suffering. Dukkha, the Sanskrit word usually translated as suffering, is perhaps more helpfully thought of as unsatisfactoriness or incompleteness. 13. Buddha teachings and community or awakening, the way and our companions.
Oh, that's Sangha. Oh
Ah,
no, that's the the three treasures
okay,
of
so,
Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Buddha teachings and community or awakening.
oh, okay. I didn't see where it
Nelda,
was in the
Nelda.
article.
Is the internet glitchy at
Nelda,
your
it's really hard to understand you. Something's
stand
wrong.
or just
It's really hard to
me?
understand. Are other people having trouble?
Yes.
Something's goofy with your internet.
So the internet is glitchy at my end. The internet is glitchy at my end.
Oh, now it's good.
Is that
Yeah,
just my end?
Yeah. Now your voice is beautiful again.
So say it again.
I know, but the screen keeps pausing. Y'all are frozen.
You want to try to rejoin?
Yeah. So that would be at my end, Kim, you think? I didn't know.
I think so. If
I'll leave and rejoin. Thank you.
okay. So a description of suffering that I like is a wheel. This is a classical one. A wheel out of kilter, like where one of the spokes are missing, something like that.
Mm.
You know, and you sometimes feel that way, just out of kilter. So it's not the typical suffering of pain. Dis-ease. Dis-ease is another way it's done. So, Malen, you want to read starting with if the way?
Yes.
Oh, here, wait. Nelda's back. Let's let her be back. Sometimes if the internet's really bad, you can turn your video off, and that makes it work better. Okay, Malen.
If the way is something other than the teachings about the way, you can left fall away all the things you think the way is or want it to be or have been led to expect it is. You accept the conditions of seatlessness and stand on the bare ground. When you do that, what walks toward you? That's the way. That mystery which cannot be expressed or explained or anticipated, which until the moment it appears is by its nature unimaginable to you. The way is a willingness to seek that and nothing short of that.
Milen, would you read it again, please?
Sure. If the way is something other than the teachings about the way, you can left fall away all the things you think the way is, or want it to be, or have been left to expect it is. You accept the conditions of seedlessness and stand on the bare ground. When you do that, what walks towards you? That's the way, that mystery which cannot be expressed or explained or anticipated, which until the moment it appears is by its nature unimaginable to you. The way is a willingness to seek that and nothing short of that.
Do you think, Melen, that you could substitute art for the way? Like I've always thought that in art school, we teach everything but art.
Just in some
You,
cases,
you
yes.
know, in the sense that you can't teach it, you can't explain it, so you do everything kind of circling around it. And what do you think?
I think in some cases because art is not always a spiritual practice.
Mm.
It could be transcendental, but we're talking here of something, maybe one of the most important topics on human life's existence.
The most important being the way.
Yeah, or the
Yeah.
spiritual life or awakening.
Can you, oops, I was going to say, can you perhaps substitute the word experience? Because, like you said, sometimes you can substitute art, but it seems almost all the time you can substitute experience.
Yeah, that's nice. That's the experience, that mystery, which cannot be expressed or explained or anticipated.
Yep.
And you think you're going to have, I mean, you anticipate what something's going to be like kayaking or something, and then you do it, and it's always different.
Was there something in the Diamond Sutra that said, like once you talk about it, then you can't, then you're not doing it anymore? It was like there was some little play on words that I feel like I'm remembering from a sutra that I'm not sure which one it was.
I think it's something that we hear over and over again. It's you can more clearly, like the way is none of the techniques or practices. It's more something that you can just talk about in the negative like that. That it's not this and it's not that.
I think an example could be when somebody falls in love for the first time. Before that, they have no concept of what it is. They can watch movies, they can read poetry, they can read books, hear everybody else's experience. But normally, when they ask, so how does it feel to fall in love? People normally say, you will know when you feel it.
I'm just thinking about supposedly you're not allergic to anything until you first have an exposure to it.
Right.
It would be the same thing.
Yes. That was good, Kim. I like that.
Okay, so I think Starlet is reading next.
But Vimalakirti is also a householder, sensitive to the needs of his guests, and so he contacts a Buddha in another realm and orders 32,000 large lion thrones for the use and comfort of his visitors, as you do, obviously. Now, everyone has a place to sit. To this day, the room that a Chan or Zen teacher uses is 10 feet by 10 feet in honor of Vimalakirti, in honor of Vimalakarti's room and what can happen there. So work in the room takes place in Vimalakarti's 100 square feet on 32,000 lion thrones. Everyone welcome. Melissa, you finally have an answer.
Was it to what was my question?
Why the 32,000?
Oh, 'cause it fits in. Right. Because he ordered it. Okay.
For everybody else, Melissa has been really wanting to know why that number, if it had a significance. The sutra remarks that despite the tens of thousands of visitors on their individual thrones, Vimalakirti's house isn't deformed by this, nor is the block on which the house sits, nor is the city. There's no cartoon image of the exterior of the house rocking on its foundations, bulging with bodhisattvas. This seems like a small but telling detail, indicating that this isn't a practice about display or having lots of precious things we do and special ways we do them. We are the modest room that can contain 32,000 lion thrones, and anybody walking by on the street wouldn't know. Each of us, in our own ordinary householder's life, is that room with all its beauty, richness, despair, difficulty, tragedy, and triumph going on inside. I think that's quite meaningful.
In what way? Can you say more?
This the thing is that to think that you can have the room that teachers use is 10 by 10, mimicking the room of Villa McCarthy's. And when you're sitting there as a teacher talking to whomever comes to talk, you can be, you can, it, you can end up having 32,000 conversations with different people and all the possibilities. I think is very meaningful. So much can be going on in such a small space. And it's like they normally say, you don't know what's going on inside of somebody. Well, kind of the same with this room.
Yeah, some things are just immeasurable.
Yeah.
Well, and that it equates our lives, each of us in our ordinary householder's life is that room with all
Mhm.
its beauty, richness, despair, difficulty, tragedy, and triumph going on inside. There's always room for all of that inside of us.
Mm-hmm. We can contain it all. So we're not going to break, even when we think we might.
Oh, nothing.
Nelda, you had a question. Do you still want to ask it?
Oh no,
Oh, okay.
I everyone else summarized what I was thinking, so
Okay.
no need to duplicate. Thank you.
Okay.
And your audio seems much, much better with the logging in and off. So um, maybe that problem got.
But but when I turn on the video and have the audio on, it's glitchy. So I'm
Okay.
gonna I'm gonna hit buttons on and off as we go.
Okay.
Thank you, Cassie.
Okay. So I think who's next?
I am
Cassie. Okay.
not to. When asked about the essence of Zen, Suzuki Shunira said
Shunryu.
Shunryu. Shunryu said that he could sum it up in two words. Not always so.
So this is a big joke that it's 3 words.
I didn't catch that until you said it. Okay. Non duality. One of the great themes of the sutra that Vimalakirti speaks is called by the Chinese with typical pungency not to. Vimalakirti lives the life of a householder and is deeply committed to spiritual practice without seeing them as separate, let alone mutually exclusive. When the Buddha tries to recruit an emissary to Vimalakirti, the candidates recount their previous encounters with him. And we learn that Vimalakirti spoke often of this particular not to. Don't be so literal, he counsels. Leaving the household isn't about renouncing your family and putting on robes. It's about leaving harmful views and bad habits and putting on practices like meditation, which you can do anywhere.
I like that.
Lucy.
Okay. The same goes for what you consider your place of practice. It's not a physical location, but your own heart-mind, your resolve and curiosity and aspiration, your generosity, vows, and forbearance, not to mention the intricate web of causes and conditions, earthly desires, and everything that lives. We make the temple or mountain hermitage or ancient shrine for our practice out of the stuff and matter of our daily lives, out of our moments in the sunlight and under the stars. Even quiet sitting has nothing to do with sitting quietly. True quiet sitting is being in deep meditation while going about what Vimalakirti calls the ceremonies of daily life, having a heart and mind fixed neither on externals nor on internal states. He doesn't elaborate, but it's natural to wonder what that third state of heart-mind, including both inner and outer awareness, but defined by neither, might be.
So is it clear to you that this is Joan Sutherland's writing right here, where we were reading the sutra a few minutes ago? Okay.
I want to say something. I'd love to hear that paragraph reread. And something about the paragraph, although I can't really articulate it in words, is resonating in me, but in a slightly different way, because this morning before Zazen, I happened upon this lovely little YouTube video about how do you do Zazen. And I apparently have been doing it all wrong, like Vimalakirti says. Practitioners have been doing this practice all wrong when he talks with them. It was just wonderful. It was the monk who was leading it talked about, first relax. And if you don't relax, you're not relaxing is welcome, And as he went along, the essence of what he was saying when he summarized at the end, he said, then we're going to get to step 2, which is almost impossible. When we got to step 2, he said, well, here's the joke. There is no step 2. You're already doing it. You're doing step 2, and that is to simply be present with whatever shows up. You don't have to always be happy. You don't always have to be relaxed. You don't always have to be empty of thoughts. Just be present with that, and whatever floats through your mind, body, and emotions, that is what is here, what is now, and it's the presence. And people focus on technique as opposed to substance, which is presence regardless of what presents itself. So this paragraph reminded me of that, but there seems to be a slight difference that I can't really figure out if there is. So, Kim, do you mind if we reread that?
Sure, I'll read it.
Thank you.
I'm next, I think. The same goes for what you can see. So this thing of presence, it seems, is the tricky part is, what does that mean, to be present? Because obviously it doesn't mean to go off with it. The same goes for what you consider your place of practice. It's not a physical location, but your own heart mind, your resolve and curiosity and aspiration, your generosity, vows, and forbearance, not to mention the intricate web of causes and conditions, earthly desires, and everything that lives. We make the temple, our mountain hermitage, or ancient shrine for our practice out of the stuff and matter of our daily lives, out of our moments in the sunlight and under the stars. Even quiet sitting has nothing to do with sitting quietly. Isn't that nice? True quiet sitting is being in deep meditation while going about what Vimalakirti calls the ceremonies of daily life, having a heart-mind fixed neither on externals or internal states. He doesn't elaborate, but it's natural to wonder what that third state of heart-mind, including both inner and outer awareness, but defined by neither, might be.
Right. As we in this koan tradition are making community, we've looked for our ancestors who are the people who asked the same kinds of questions we ask and came up with ways to embody not two that feel congruent to, that feel congruent and harmonious with our own lives. One group of ancestors that has come alive for some of us is the Dorian women who lived about 1,000 years after the sutra came to China. Dorian means people of the way. They are the Vimalakirtis of their time, women who chose not to enter the monastic institutions of Buddhism like the convents, but also not to live the lives that were otherwise awaiting them in society. They came together in autonomous, intentional communities and lived by customs of spiritual discipline that they developed and agreed upon together. Because of the integrity of the way they lived, they were trusted, even though they were outside the culture's usual structures of authority. They were able to spend time with women of different walks of life, from farming women to the fields to women cloistered in upper class and literarian families.
In the Taoist traditions, as I understand it, the practice of not to is embodied in subverting and connecting. By crossing the barriers set up around the lives of women in different classes, they subverted women's segregation and connected them with one another. Gossip, news, and messages were passed from street to inner chamber and back again. Medicines from the goods dispensed in bedrooms, ideas debated, and resources shared.
At a practical level, the Vimalakirti Sutra hopes to subvert any compartmentalization in our lives, especially with regard to the daily and the spiritual. It reconnects us with any aspect of life we might think we have to renounce. Philosophically, Vimalakirti is subverting anything that reinforces our tendency to make two, to divide things up into this pile and that pile, us and them, black and white, right and wrong. Dualism is a trick of the mind, not a description of the way the world actually is. If we can subvert the habits of mind that make dualities, we can take the next step, which is to begin to connect those things that have been separated by that trick. Clear out the bramble thicket of twos, divisions, categories, and separations, and then connect what has been artificially sundered. Bring things back together. That applies not only to our relationship with each other, the apparently infinite ability of human beings to find different categories of us and them, but also between us and the other creatures of the world, between us and the natural world as a whole.
So sometimes we think about, well, now I'm sitting, now I'm going to work, now I'm going to have breakfast and not thinking of it, separating these things. So that's Starlet. So Cassie's next.
When we take up the subverting and connecting that the sutra that Vimalakirti speaks and the Dorian share, we are becoming more realistic. We are coming closer to the way things actually are, because the world as it actually is, when the dualistic trick of the mind is not operating, is thunderously and radiantly not too. Bodhisattvas and the tilty world.
What's that word?
Tilty, Tilty,
Yeah,
tilty, like tilting off kilter.
you think so? Okay.
That's what I don't know if that's right. That's what I thought.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
Because we are born and we die, there is illness. Vimalakirti.
Is that it? Am I up now? Okay. When Vimalakirti begins to speak from his sickbed, it's with absolute, unquestioned, unmitigated, unbuffered, uncompromised allegiance to this world. And his illness is part of what he has allegiance to. For the purposes of this story, Vimalakirti's is a physical illness, but it could as easily be any kind of dis-ease, any way we're off balance, internally or in our relationships with the world, or the world's relationship with us. When Vimalakirti talks about illness, he's talking about whatever's tilty in our lives. And he's saying that that quality of tiltiness is fundamental to this world. If our world is already a pure land, it's the tilty pure land, where we're constantly being rocked and never quite find center, or find it only for a moment before we get knocked off balance again. Later in the story, Vimalakirti makes contact with a beautiful non-tilty world called Many Fragrances. Its inhabitants build their halls and towers out of fragrances, stroll the scented ground, and cultivate sweet-smelling gardens. The aroma of their food wafts to countless worlds in all directions. When Vimalakirti opens up some kind of wormhole to many fragrances, the inhabitants look at our world and exclaim that it looks pretty tough here. Our world is called Saha, endurance. There's general agreement with Shariputra's assessment of life here as a lot of suffering that has to be borne.
But the inexorable
Excuse me.
Vimalakirti.
Excuse me. What is the meaning of the word born? Borne. It was at the end of the paragraph that Ed read.
That Ed wrote. Thank you. I'm getting better.
You're quite a writer.
Oh,
Kind of
that kind of born
originated.
is it has
Go
yeah,
on.
that kind of born means you have to carry it like it has to be if you're suffering, then the suffering has to be borne. You have to carry it and carry it through.
So
So
would
it's
it
something that like that.
so would it be like for in Christianity, like saying you have to carry your own cross?
You
Yes.
know that
Yes,
word owned?
exactly.
Okay.
Is it like owned?
Worn.
It's like bear it.
Worn, yeah,
What did
carried,
you say,
worn.
Nelda? Nelda?
You have to bear it.
Yeah.
Just
Thank you.
Yeah.
grin, grin and bear it.
I
Okay.
think bearing it is the more traditional and complete definition of born. It's an old English word, but yeah, something to be you have to bear.
Okay, so that is essential in our world, the one that we're in.
Yeah. Nobody lives in this life without suffering to some degree at some time in some way.
Well, um, there you go. That's Christianity and Buddhism coming together.
And here's my daddy. You only have two choices: change your circumstances or change your attitude. Those are the only two choices you have with life when you're not happy with it.
Go.
I like that.
Yep. That's a drop the
Thank you.
mic.
Well, thank you.
But the inexorable Vimalakirti advises everyone not to rank. That's the world of many fragrances. That is the tilty world. We should understand that the universe has infinite possibilities, and if we're here, our job is to accept the offer of this world, not just to yearn for rebirth in some other one. In many ways, the sutra is about transforming our attitude toward our own lives from endurance to active acceptance, even welcome.
Mhm.
Okay, so Nelda, your father was right on the money. Um, but I do want to ask, what exactly does it mean rank when it says advises everyone not to rank?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to my Christian tradition because I think in sort of a superficial approach to Christianity that I watched, that I really wasn't comfortable with is if you are good, whatever that means, then you get the reward of heaven. And if you're bad, whatever that means, then you get the punishment of hell. And my question always was, well, why can't we just behave in a beneficial way just for the simple love of God, not because he's going to throw us a candy or he's going to spank us? I just found it awful. I just found that sort of religious training awful. Can't we just do it out of love rather than fear of this spiritual parent? And the question was, Starlet?
But the inexorable Vimalakirti advises everyone not to rank.
And so rather than reaching for heaven in this life or trying to avoid hell, in the next life, make your heaven here or make your hell here. Make a choice. Don't be looking to another life somewhere out there. Because as I remember the quote, Jesus said, I came that you might have life and have it abundantly. And my translation was here and now. And I think the Buddha came for the same reason.
In the
Ranking
Sing
to
oh, go
when
on.
is when you rank something, something is better than something else, right?
Yeah, so I was going to
Uh,
read the first few lines of the Xing Qing Ming. The great
oh yeah.
way isn't difficult for those who are unattached to their preferences.
Just
That's right.
read that again.
The great way isn't difficult for those who are unattached to their preferences. Let go of longing and aversion, and everything will be perfectly clear. When you cling to a hair's breadth of distinction, heaven and earth are set apart. So, having preferences is ranking.
And I
Thank
just
you.
thought of it as like just the act of judging. Whenever we're in judging mind, then um, you're never going to have peace.
Okay. Thank you, guys. I'm glad I'm not reading this book by myself because I may feel
Yeah, me
lost
too.
at times.
Yeah.
So,
And I
who's
just love
reading?
hearing the different voices. It's just so nice to have a different voice for each paragraph. Just gives it so much more depth. I greatly appreciate us meeting and reading.
Me
Agreed.
too.
Who's reading now?
I think you just finished reading, Kim.
Okay. So
Okay.
then
So then,
it's Melissa.
right. And where, oh, you've got it all the way up the top of the page. Thank you. Part of taking up the way of not to is accepting the offer this world makes to us, which is to be an unbalanced being in an unbalanced world. If the negative qualities of the offer are obvious, there is also a positive quality, which is a kind of creativity. We don't just look at this instability of world as the cause of suffering and complications. We can also see it as a source of creative responses to those very difficulties. In fact, Vimalakirti says 10 good practices have arisen here in the Tilty world and nowhere else. For example, generosity in response to poverty, forbearance in response to anger, and meditation in response to distractedness. Also, 4 ways of attracting people to the way: charity, kind words, working for the good of others, and sharing in the hardships of others. These are the gifts of our Saba, of our Saba world.
Not to expresses the oneness of all things, and it is also no, it also implies their multiplicity. You can deal with the trick of the mind that is duality by applying the sword and cuts into one. And you can deal with it by noticing, excuse me, the infinite proliferation of beings and viewpoints and possibilities that make up the universe, so that only two suddenly seem like an what is it?
Impoverished.
Impoverished alternative. Thank you. Vimalakirti implies that we bodhisattvas in training should avoid thinking of the bodhisattva as a temple of perfection we are going to squeeze ourselves into. In an off-balance world that invites our flexibility and improvisation, there are a lot of different ways to be bodhisattva, and the sutra names many of them.
I used to think that this was just part of the tendency in the old text to elaborate. The chili, chiliocosm upon chiliocosm. What is that? In Buddhist cosmology, a chiliocosm is a collection of 1,000 times 1,000 world systems. I just enjoy the word.
But isn't it amazing that they had an idea of, of a kind of an infinitely sized universe?
The fact that they even thought that there were other universes, other worlds,
Yeah.
that is way ahead of its time. It's amazing.
And those perspectives are thousands and thousands of years old. where they're
Hmm.
talking about different dimensions and all of those types of things. And you see, and of course, all of the 10,000 things, the seven directions, so forth and so on. And even in certain aspects of Christianity, they say a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day. So that you don't escape that infiniteness of the one.
Thank you.
And then, like, what is a kulpa? Like, like, how many times a feather goes on top of the mountain?
Yeah. And how many times should you forgive someone?
Hmm.
10 times 10,000, whatever times, when he gave that fun algorithm.
And all the wonderful jewels, flowers, music. Okay, I'm going to start again. I used to think that this was just part of the tendency in the old text to elaborate the chilicosm upon chilicosms and all the wonderful jewels, flowers, music. But now I think this is actually a deep Dharma point. There isn't a bodhisattva. There are unblinking bodhisattva, wonderful arm bodhisattva, jewel hand bodhisattva, lion mind bodhisattva, pure emancipation bodhisattva, universal maintenance bodhisattva, jewel courage bodhisattva, roots of joy bodhisattva, joyful vision bodhisattva, sounds of thunder bodhisattva, serene capacity bodhisattva, store of virtue bodhisattva, the lights in the real bodhisattva, and then there are three that clearly show the absence of a single template for our spiritual lives. Viewing equality bodhisattva, viewing inequality bodhisattva, and viewing equality and inequality bodhisattva.
This
So
is
you certainly, if you want to become a bodhisattva, there's not a particular mold you would go into. Like you could be a bodhisattva. I mean, bodhisattvas are not one bodhisattva is not the same as the next one.
I
They all
think
have
I
it.
think they become like an expert on that specific field.
Right. Yeah.
Although I want to be a Kim Bodhisattva.
Well, that's nice. I want to be an elder bodhisattva.
this is just a fraction of the titles in the sutra, and the invitation is to discover your particular expression of bodhisattva-ness. In the Tilty world, you figure out whether you're a jeweled hand bodhisattva or roots of joy bodhisattva. Understanding that you might be different bodhisattvas at different times in your life, and maybe more often than not, feeling a bit humble about it all. Fingers crossed bodhisattva, pretty close bodhisattva, not a bad morning bodhisattva, flying by the seats of my pants bodhisattva.
That's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, oh, okay, we read that. Okay.
Someone suggested that Shariputra acts as the universal maintenance bodhisattva. In this sutra, the great celestial janitor, whose subversions of high seriousness keep the story connected to the actual concerns of the human heart, and sometimes the human bottom and the human tummy.
One of the profound beauties of the Mahayana vision is the sense that we human bodhisattvas aren't doing this alone. Everything in the world is engaged in the work of awakening. Everything is its own kind of bodhisattva. Cow bodhisattva, fool's gold bodhisattva, scuffed slipper bodhisattva. Do you imagine the right slipper and the left each has its own bodhisattva path? At the end of the sutra, Shakyamuni calls this infinite collaborative effort the work of the Buddhas. In some worlds, radiant light does the work. In others, it might be gardens, groves, towers, clothing, food, the body, empty space, dreams, metaphors, words, silence, even the 84,000 earthly desires. In other words, pretty much anything. So we particularly human expressions of bodhisattvaness have all these comrades to help us with our impossible promise to the world.
So, should we do the 3 minute? Nelda's saying yes.
Yes.
And I will set the timer. Do you want me to just call on you, or do you want to call on ask the next person? How do you want to do it? Okay, Ed.
I almost was going to answer you, but thanks for volunteering me.
No, what's going to be your answer? We'll do whatever you say.
You'll be sorry. I mean, no, I was just going to say, why don't you pick someone to get started, and then when they finish, they pick the next one.
Okay, so I did that.
You did that,
Ed, you're
yeah.
starting.
So, life as it is. Um, what seems interesting throughout all of these readings, and sometimes it's fun, interesting, sometimes it's not so much fun, is the duality of it all. You know, being able to be in that place where it's not good, it's not bad, you know, it's in the middle, where you don't enter into something with intent or purpose, and being able to just be empty, and what the consequence of all of that is. It seems to be always, in some fashion, a delicate dancing on the head of a pin. And sometimes, oddly enough, that's quite all right. Sometimes it's very illuminating. Other times it's like, somebody get me the hell out of here. This is really hurting. But nonetheless, it's there. And there seems to be some message or point to it that I can't really put a finger on for how or why. And there's times where that seems troubling. Other times it's like, oh well. And now I fully believe that in the use of language, silence should always come out the winner. So
Len pointed out that we missed the 1 minute silence first. Thank you, Len. I thought of that too after Ed started talking. I apologize. Let's do the 1 minute silence. Better late than never, right?
and I was going to call on Nelda to go next.
So I'll jump off of what you said about delicate dancing on the head of a pin. I've been watching them. This is so much like our practice, at least in the moment it feels like it. I've been watching the figure skaters, the Olympic figure skaters. And that's exactly what this practice, that imagery as I watch them, reminds me of. There are some who make their routine play, absolute joy and play. And even some of the exceptional ones fall down and they get back up as if, okay, fall down, get back up, and go right back into play with joy and ease. And like Kim said, you know, we can't get lost in certain things. Our training, the things that we practice, these forms, help prepare us for play. But living life as play nonetheless within an ethical framework is just amazing. And so the Olympics remind me of our practice, both how some of them fight against it and struggle with it, and how others just delicately dance on the head of that pin or on the edge of an ice skate. And you know, I've often said that words are slippery, but in this moment, I love Joan Sutherland's wordsmithery, because her weaving together of words just made me feel so expansive. Her words from long ago in a book now had that sort of butterfly effect, and which I only learned about in the last year. But once I learned about the butterfly effect, and boy, I went down the rabbit hole on that for several days, just researching and researching. But once I felt like I had a clear enough understanding of what it was, then my sitting here in Austin, Texas, sending metta to the cosmos just felt so much more real. Not a waste, not an idea, not a fantasy, not an impossible dream. So that when we say we vow to cross all Dharma gates and this vow enters them all, I believe that now. I truly believe our vows now because of the butterfly effect. Malen.
Well, I underlined a lot of pieces in this section. I will read one. It says, at a practical level, the Vimalakirti Sutra hopes to subvert and compartmentalization any in our lives, especially with regards to the daily and the spiritual. It reconnects us with any aspect of life we might think we have to renounce. And then if we can subvert the habits of mind that make dualities, we can take the next step, which is to begin to connect those things that have been separated by the trick. I found that very helpful for me with the previous paragraph when it was talking about silence, noticing that in order to dismantle dualities with the mind, I think it's a personal process to identify what are those for us. And as we get to know them, then maybe we are going to be able to, or maybe not, I don't know. But that was my thinking this tonight. Like to deepen into those dualities in my life. Kim,
Yeah, a big duality for me is beautiful, ugly, and and um, and forever being confused about how could something be one or the other. But I was thinking too that we could make a list of all the dualities in our life. Also, then the second one that came to mind was tastes good, doesn't taste good, because I just ate dinner right before this, and it tasted good. And I really admired when we was talking about all the different kinds of bodhisattvas, and I remember the first residential intensive I went to, I was work leader, and Todd said something really nice about Kim has this unique way of doing things, something like that. But I felt like the aim, before he said that, I thought the aim was to be some kind of model perfect work leader, like everyone else is a work leader. And so kind of like, well, it's okay to be creative and at the same time do this Zen practice. And so that was really uh, affirming to me. And also it's affirming that the Vimalakirti, that all these bodhisattvas have their individual skills, and that even with the great skill that they have, they can't be everything. Just like a photographer, they might be a wedding photographer, they might be a medical photographer, they might be a this or that, the million different kinds of anything we do. Um, and I like the fact that we're celebrating him as a lay practitioner. He's kind of like our mother or father, like that someone whose footsteps we can follow in, that it's not like this practice is less than. And in the sutra, for those who read the sutra, a lot of people don't, a lot of the other bodhisattvas don't even want to talk to him because he'll point out where they're off base. He's so brilliant. Um, Cassie.
I I love the phrase of the tilty world because it reminds me of playing pinball in the 70s. And you can't tilt the machine. Yeah. And we try to tilt something in order to get what we want. Right. Uh, and the other thing that really resonated with me is the 10 by 10 room, which metaphors for a body, and that, that all this stuff is within us, and that it's about acceptance, that if we're judging some internal part of us, then I'm off my kilter. I'm not centered with everything that's in the room, whether it's 32,000 gold statues or I've removed all of the furniture, which I've removed all of the things that I would attach to or that are ideas of comfort. Um, and I love the magical language that corresponds to um, quantum mechanics and physics and all the things that science is has been discovering, that these people who sat still for long enough to just get intuitive with, that it was an embodied feeling. Um, including the idea of galaxies and solar systems and interconnection. I've been playing with the metaphor of you see all the photos of the one drop in the water and the little ripples that go out in concentric circles, and it's always the one drop. But like, what happens when it rains? And you see a still pond with 75 or 100 or 1,000 drops of rain, and they're all rippling at the same time. Sometimes Instagram is my sutra, and I read this post yesterday that was about a study that was done where they had 5,000 people meditate, and they were in one place and they were sitting at one time and sitting for a week, in a different kind of schedule. And then they looked at the news of the world, and during that time, murder rates went down, crime rates went down. And they were just like, oh, this is a coincidence. So 10 years later, they did it again, and it still happened. So, like, even there's these physical things of interconnectedness that is what I'm feeling with the non duality. I'm sorry I went over my time. Little violin is playing. Melissa.
Oh, thank you. I really liked what you had to say, by the way. Very good. For me, a lot of it is it feels like a relaxing thing that you're not having to worry about, being perfect, going to heaven, or being really bad and going to hell and maybe not understanding what perfect is or what bad is, but that you're there, just there, and you're dealing with what's in front of you and trying to be in that state while you're dealing with the everyday. That, and sometimes that's kind of hard for me, is to be in that, just okay, we're gonna wash the dishes. Okay. And I tend to do two or three things at once. So I think it's very interesting to think of a calmness in the storm. You're right in the middle of the storm, everything's happening, but you're concentrating on doing what's right in front of you. And I think that, to me, is really inspirational, and I like it a lot. But also, just, I guess for me, the way that she is presenting the information in the book, that she is a bit lighthearted, and it's not this serious study of Vimalakirti, who was not a serious person in my world. He's, very intelligent and very whatever, but then he just stops and says, "Oh, but you're doing it wrong. And by the way, this is how to do it." And then, okay, now we can go do something else. And that that really too, the wanting to have all the chairs, so even in that situation, there's a hospitality, there's a thinking of others, there's all of that kind of thing. Even when you have a 10 by 10 room and have all these millions of people, and they need to have a chair. Everybody needs to have that chair. Um, and be comfortable while you're learning. I think that's something important too. We're not going to beat you over the head with anything. He's not going to yell at you and, berate what you've been doing, although he may point out that you didn't do it right. But yeah, it's that calmness and hospitality. I like that a lot. For me, that's very important. Starlet.
Um, I really like what we read today. And an idea that has stuck with me is with the non duality, that is a not to. And it brings to my mind colors. When we look one color and another color, yes, we have two. We can look at the color white and the color red. But if we don't look at it separating them and we allow them to connect, we get pink. And that happens with any color that we put together. When they come together, yellow and blue, it will become green, and so on. So to me, it feels like when we think of a duality type of world, we're actually limiting the infinite possibilities. So I think that duality comes really good for organizing our homes, for knowing what to put with what. But when we're not organizing our homes, I think it's really worth it to try and learn how to see the white, the red, and the pink.
I have a question, Nelda, about the butterfly effect, since you said you've read about it. And I heard years ago that it really doesn't apply to everyday life, but it's more about subatomic particles. Is that true?
I've slept since then.
I'm sorry, what?
I said I've slept since then. I don't remember.
Oh,
Well,
But something got embedded in me that where I'm still sending meta to the cosmos. So.
yeah.
I would like to comment on this.
Okay.
I actually saw a presentation with the scientists that came up with that theory.
Wow.
And funny enough, turns out that that theory doesn't really exist. He was gathering data and then he put all his data into a graph. The data came out in the form of a butterfly.
Oh, no.
And when journalists saw it, they run with it. And he has not been able to stop that keep on going.
I'm so glad he has not been able to stop them.
It's such a great metaphor. And something I figured out today that I should have figured out when I was, 10 years old, but I'm slow, uh, is that when one thing, where everything's impermanent, and when things change, they don't change like A into B, but there's something that shoots off and comes in. For example, when metal rusts, if you weighed a piece of metal before and after it rusted, it would weigh less. or more or something. Something would either come in or go out, or you know what I mean? There'd be some change. So it's interacting with it, becoming part of the world, or the world's becoming part of it. And it's not it's not like A becomes B, becomes C, becomes D. It's not that clear, but there's this kind of scattering, dissolving, all this activity going on, interacting. It's not a lab kind of situation. So anyway, I figured that out yesterday.
Yesterday.
Nice.
Yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah.
I was
They,
just doing some.
But I
Go ahead.
love
Sorry.
that. I love that, Starlet, that the data was in the shape of a butterfly.
I learned that one early in life when my father looked at me and said, "Everything has consequences, boy." That was it. That was the koan. That was the butterfly effect. That was all the warning and philosophy you were going to
And
get.
you know, the butterfly effect goes with what Thich Nhat Hanh said: when we die, what remains is what we do in our life. So that's kind of what we
Mm,
affect.
I like that.
Well, thank you, everyone. It's exactly 8:30.
Wow.
Kim, are you able to stay on to talk with me for no more
Sure.
than 10
Yes.
minutes?
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
See you next week, but hopefully before that.
Absolutely.
I would give a hug back to Cassie and everybody.
Okay. Thank you, Starlet.
Hello. Did you see Q's email about Council 2 and yard work, garden work?
I did.
And did you see my reply?
I didn't see your reply, I don't think.
So I just sent it tonight, basically saying,
Oh,
have this stuff in my head and need to be clear-headed. I'll look at the to-do list before I detail things, and also pointed out to her that we are looking at proposals for a fence, and then um, um, the board is considering sort of updating the garden. So I really don't know what to tell her, but I'll look at it, and then I'll send her my reply, or maybe I'll send you an email first saying, Kim, I don't think I'm in charge of this.
well, what you might look is, oh, you're not in council too, so but anyway, you could look at the spreadsheet and you can edit it.
Okay.
So that might be a good step. And I'm waiting for the estimate from that second company.
I
You
don't
know,
know if it's a good sign or not, but yeah, so far I like the price, but I want to see what the next price is.
yeah. Uh, so we'll see.
And the
And we
next, go
go
ahead.
on. Go on.
The next thing is, I had talked with you over lunch, or we were at Apamata, about um, about choosing a teacher to meet with regularly during this practice period, 97-day practice period, and thereafter. And I just wonder because, well, I wonder because it feels important. Did you happen to mention that to Peg, that I said that I would?
No.
Okay, good. Because you know what, Kim? Everything in my body is aligned to ask Joel if he's available.
Okay.
Listen to his 2 talks, the past couple of Dharma talks, and it just feels like he's the one.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So it's going to be different people at different times.
Meaning what?
Different people are going to speak to you at different times. You know, at one time it will be Joel, and another time it might be the rock in your backyard.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for that, Grace. Yes. At this moment, it feels like, yes, I would really like to.
He's going to be at Apamata on Sunday.
This Sunday.
Yes. And then, yes.
then maybe all will be well enough for me to go there and sit with him and meet with him in person and ask in person. We can wait till Sunday. So, just an FYI, I have workers here, which I'm embracing. Edoidi's still doing a lot of
Why
things.
don't we want him to do the fence?
Um, well, I can ask him. I just didn't think he could do the artistry, but he's done a beautiful job of our fence, and we had him build along one length of the fence a sort of 3.5 by 12-foot waterproof storage room and paint it to match the house.
They did a great job on the stairs.
We did a great job on our fence here and on.
Yeah, and your fence looked fine. So, because with these bigger companies, a lot of the money you're paying is for the estimator and the trucks and all this stuff that you're not. So anyway, it would be interesting to get an estimate from him. We still haven't heard back from Steve.
And what's that is? Oh, we haven't?
No, Steve didn't make a final decision. He's
Oh, okay. Well, I'll get an estimate from Midoidi.
yeah.
He'll be here tomorrow, I believe. And you're not at council meeting on Thursdays. I was gonna say I may miss council meeting, but I'm having dental surgery. I'm having an implant put in on Wednesday.
Oh no,
It's okay. I'm a little
poor
scared.
thing.
I know I'm a little scared because here I am Monday night and I haven't read the surgery protocol yet. So after we get offline, I'm gonna go, oops, I missed that
Have you done
deadline.
laughing gas?
No,
It is so wonderful, Nelda.
actually put you under.
Oh, okay, that's better.
It is better. I'm just more questioning whether I've followed the antibiotic protocol because with this hip surgery for a year, I have to take antibiotics for any invasive surgery for a certain.
Oh, so you don't want to double.
Right, right. I want to make sure I'm doing it right. So anyway, I'll look at that tonight before I go to
Oh,
bed.
and that's what day is that?
That's Wednesday. So tomorrow I'm getting my teeth cleaned because it's best to get your teeth cleaned before they do that surgery. So tomorrow I have to take 2,000 milligrams of 4 pills of antibiotics. And I think on Wednesday morning I have to take 4,000 and then take them for 10 days. It's a lot. It's a lot. You know what, Kim, and I'm not, this is not an exaggeration. I'm not a pill taker. I've never had to take a regular medication for blood pressure or for anything, nothing except the supplements I buy, right? Fish oil and CoQ10 and my multivitamins. I've taken more pills this year than I have in easily 10, but more likely 15 years. And I'm like, what? But it is what it is.
Okay.
Hey, so I'll talk to Gordy tomorrow. And
You'll talk to, oh, yes.
I'll look at that spreadsheet tomorrow morning.
I think it will look a whole lot better if we do the fence that's there.
I do too. But at $10,000, I'm like, ooh, that's a little pricey. But
And another thought I had, you'll probably say no initially,
no.
is that the workday we could take down and dispose of the fence.
Oh, I don't have any problem with that.
We might ask him if the fence was gone, what how much would that save?
Other than the posts, because of course they have to dig up the posts.
They'll have to, or let them rot and stagger the holes or whatever.
But they're set in concrete, and I don't know where it already got this machine. I think he had someone make it for him that goes right in and digs up the whole concrete 1 or 2 feet deep of concrete. It's amazing.
You mean that takes the old one out? Or
Yeah.
oh,
Yes. So let me write it already down. I would love a bit. He did do a beautiful job with those steps, but that's a small project. And I don't mind him if he makes mistakes, and he doesn't. Here's where it already, and I'll talk with him about this. Here's where it already, his work can be frustrating sometimes. He doesn't do good cleanup. And I think if you do a job, you clean up every single day. You don't leave tools, and I end up having to go, he left all his tools and half open paint cans, and I, after a work day, ended up having to go and cover all of his equipment so it didn't get ruined in the rain, and check every paint can. But I'll make a list for him. Because I know he wants to do a really good job.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll check with him tomorrow.
Okay. And he's seen the fence, but you might send him a picture of it. Do you have a picture of it?
I have a picture of the design that was sent with the other bid.
No. But I'm not sure. That might be okay. I don't remember it.
Let me take a quick look at that. And that's a Patriot, right?
But I could take a picture tomorrow morning and send it to you.
Give me just a second, Paige. I just want to see if I'm thinking correctly. Oh, I don't see a picture. Okay. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you, Kim.
Because he probably won't remember exactly how it is, but then he could. And if you noticed, the first bid for the fence as it is, he put 5 foot, not 6 foot.
Yes, I did notice that.
And I don't know if that was just if he was bidding it for 6, but then mistakenly put 5 or what. But anyway, he's too high. We knew that he was high, this guy.
Yeah. So, so should I or should you reach out to Steve, or just give him time to decide that?
Well, let's find out from your guy and from the second bid.
Okay.
So we have then I'll reach out to Steve.
Okay. Great.
Maybe he'll respond before.
Oh, and another thing. Let me write this down. Set a.
Oh, did you call the 311 about the garbage can?
No, because I didn't know if you had already.
No.
I'm sorry. Okay. I will do.
But did you call the first time? And is that why we got one?
No.
Oh, because I have a sneaking suspicion maybe they decided they're not going to let people do the big one anymore. I mean, and they took it. That's now my story.
You know what, Ben?
And then they replaced it with because you had said you're going to call them. So then Marina wouldn't have called them. So why did a new one all of a sudden appear?
I don't know, but I will tell you this. Ben and I went to each house down the block, other than the lady right across from us who we know.
Yeah.
And knocked on the door and asked people if we could look at their compost.
Oh, no.
Yes, it was lovely. We met some lovely people.
Oh,
It was great. It was just, one block down and coming back up. And
someone could write a kid's book about that and then finding out something about their lives.
Well, one of the things I found out about John and Marina's life is that the new group of young people who have moved into that unit in the back used that converted garage for a jam session room with their drums and with their guitars. And I don't know how Marina and John handle all that noise. Oh my gosh, it's noise.
Is it a one-time thing or?
They live there.
No, but are they doing the drums and so forth?
I need to ask them. Let me write that down. Ask Marina neighbors' music. I'll call it music.
It doesn't seem like you can do much about it unless they're doing it after 11 o'clock or something. I'm
Or, or
on
before 8.
another neighborhood list, and there's a situation like that.
And by the way, there's several musician groups on that block because
Oh,
they're all out rehearsing. So that was very cool. Anyway, can I do anything for you? Anything you need, Kim? Okay. All right.
take
Oh,
care.
you too. Thank you so much for
Say
this.
hi to Ben.
I will. Say hi to Linda.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.